Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scala with the POPXP, and joining me as always is Dr. Blevins, the man, the myth, Mr. Unboxing.
That's me.
Blevins,
That's
I'm
me.
excited. I'm excited. We
Dude,
got a great guest.
dude, I'm excited as well. You know, anytime we're able to get this guy on, I mean, it's like my birthday all over again. I don't even understand. It is so incredible to live a life where we get to have this guy as a guest. I mean,
I know.
yeah,
That's
I'm
why you
screaming
blew
on
that
the inside
candle
like
out.
always. Huh?
That's why you blew that candle out. I'm like, what are you doing? You
That
just blew a
is,
candle,
yeah.
smiled,
Before
and
the
put the
show,
little hostess cupcake down.
yeah, and I ate some cake like for
Yeah.
the last month.
Oh, geez,
Just
come on, man.
kidding.
But anyways, let's dive into it. We've got
Definitely.
the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kevin Eastman, back on the POPXP. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. You guys are way too kind. I appreciate the intro.
Well,
Thank you.
we don't fanboy too often, but when it comes to you, sir, we can't help
It's
ourselves.
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
talking mainly about the
absolutely.
cake. I'm a big fan of cake, so
Ooh,
I love cake
what's your
too.
favorite
I think
cake,
we just
Kevin?
became best friends.
no, I do appreciate it. Great to be back hanging out with you guys. Thanks.
Yeah. What's your favorite cake?
The ones that come out of a pan that you put in your mouth.
How dare you ask me that?
Oh, so any
I-
cake.
Any kind.
Cake? No, it's like because it's my wife likes like a heavy yellow cake with milk chocolate frosting on it. Um, but I will specifically say on the record, I have not met a cake I don't like yet. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to medicake with when I'm sick. Medicake. That's what it is.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But oh,
I wanna show you something before we get started. I was on Rob Liefeld's Whatnot the other day,
Hmm.
and he had these, and he said there was only like 10 of these done, and you guys got together and he did the you did the remark at the top and he
yep,
did the remark at the bottom.
yep.
But he said you guys just got together. Like, what kind of world is that? Like,
It's we
what is your life like? Did
well,
y'all
when we're not working out together, we go down and do jazzercise, and
nice?
we have a spinning class and stuff together.
Do
No,
you pull up in the tank and he hops in and then you guys drive to the
duh, yeah, of course.
okay.
I
That's the
just
only
can't.
way to do it.
He won't get out of his Deadpool costume. I'm like, come on, Rob. I've already seen the Deadpool thing. No,
he wears it in the hot yoga.
yoga and the Deadpool costume. No,
Yeah.
longtime fan and a friend with Rob, and it's great that we get to see each other occasionally at shows and things like that. So events where we can get together and sign a few things is always a treat for me.
Man,
So,
I was so excited to get that because I'm definitely a huge fan of yours for sure. And then to be able to get that from him as well, I thought it was great and I wanted to show it off. So
well, no, thanks. He actually invited when he had his Snake Eyes run over at IDW. He invited me to do. He was having a bunch of different artists come in.
yeah, the number 6.
I had a great time. He sent a page and I inked it. It was just it's all good.
Man, it's so crazy. Like just speaking about that, like I thought it was an amazing idea
Mm.
to have all the artists do that because when I started asking about why that happened, he said, "Look, everyone buys the number 1 books, and then
Yeah.
you can get the number 2 and number 3, but more towards the end, those books start to slack off of sales." And
Sure.
he's like, "What's the best way to make sure that they buy the last issue when you put a who's who of people in that story?" And I thought it was a great idea.
Very clever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very clever, and I was thrilled to be invited because it definitely was, like you said, a who's who of people I admired and grew up being inspired by, as well as peers. So it was a real treat for me as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just have to say, with the Ninja Turtles and everything, because that's what we're here to talk about, with Armageddon Game and everything that's going on, and we talk about cake too. But I have to say, I just I'm 38 years old, so turtles have been my thing my entire life. There's been ups and downs with it, of course, because I get into girls, cars, other things, right? But it's always come back. But what still just blows me away is how they've matured, right? And how they've grown. So it's like pretty much at any point in my life when I've picked up something turtles, I can enjoy it. And especially with the writing now and what's currently going on in comics is just to me it's like yeah, it's definitely not geared toward the younger generation, but for my generation, it brings me to a level of escapism that I cannot find in many current comic books. And I just think it's brilliant how it's grown. And Is that something that's conscious when you guys are putting these books together?
You know, we're inspired by so many real world events, so many genre evolutions and growth, and you know when I think back of the first issue of the Turtles, there weren't such a thing as video games, or we didn't have the movies and the technology and the special effects and the things that we did now. So it was really, comics to me were such a wonderful form of escapism until you arrived at a time and place where you could do something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or some of the interaction you can have now. But it's always and I think comics in general have always grown with the times, a reflection of what's going on. You think of the kind of the comics that Marvel and DC were putting out in the late '60s, early '70s. I was, that's where I discovered them myself, and then as it grew through the '70s into the '80s, where you start seeing the Comics Code Authority drift away. Guys like Frank Miller and Alan Moore and everybody coming in and sort of pushing, like, comics aren't for kids anymore. So definitely, Turtles have been lucky enough that the kinds of stuff that we write or do, or certainly the stuff that I've been involved in, is a reflection of the times and present. It's kind of topical, but the fact that I still get to do it is like, it's amazing. Because think of Batman, Superman, so many characters we all grew up on have all changed with the times, and so it's great to be part of the here and now, and be able to tell the kind of stories we do tell now with support of original fans like yourselves.
Does it ever kind of like blow your mind to the fact that, like, okay, there's going to be a time I'm not here anymore. It's inevitable for all of us, but this
Yes.
will remain. Like, you ever just lay there like, holy crap, this is going to like outlive me and generations to come.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. We had a bit of a joke recently, and I won't. I don't know if I'll remember it type properly, but it was something to the effect of, because I've been lucky enough in my life that I will sign autographs with a head sketch. So I figured on my gravestone to be like kind of a stone hand reaching out of the grave with a signature and a head sketch on it, going like, be signed till the end, or well, I don't know. But no, that is it's one of the greatest gifts, because when you take it back to the real world place of Peter and I following that dream and that concept to follow in the footsteps of our shared hero, Jack Kirby, and many others. But Jack Kirby was our guide to want to fulfill that dream, which doesn't happen to everybody, that we wanted to write and draw comics for a living. And then I've been doing it for 40 years. Next year will be 40 years on the Turtles, and until they they take me out of here in a box, or
Oh
send me,
no.
don't want to see what I'm doing anymore, and I'm going to still do it. But what it's the greatest gift ever. So and the fact that if there's something I leave behind that makes people happy and they have fond memories of it, then it's win-win for sure.
Man.
All right,
Well,
Blevins.
I mean, I got to tell you, moving into Armageddon Game, last time we had you on the show and we talked about the ending, the last Ronin going away, and me reading like some of the things to come in Armageddon Game, and I told you, I was like, man, this is really going to be the next big thing. And man, Tom Waltz has just delivered. I mean, just hands down, like absolutely delivered. And I have tons of questions about Armageddon Game, but I just have to ask this: like, say that more animated Ninja Turtles shows, stuff like that comes out. Is it safe to say from now on that Jenica, like, there's 5 turtles now? I mean, like, if there was a new series, would Jenica 100% be part of that?
I would love to say yes, and it really is. We are beholden to what the parent company that owns all things Turtles, which is Viacom/Paramount/Nickelodeon,
Right.
and it is definitely a specific multiverse as far as how they approach it. Their concerns are, the rise of the Turtles after we did the 2012 series, to the Seth Rogen movie, which is coming out later this year. So they're specific with more event, mass market kind of things, but they're very aware of the success and popularity of part of the Turtle multiverse. Because to me, there's always been kind of a multiverse from the early days of the black and white comics, the Archie comics, the cartoon show, and even the movie, which was a leg in each world. So they look at the comics like Last Ronin and the stuff we were doing with Jenica and the ongoing series and Armageddon games as one of the other universes that I think they'll want to tap into at some time. Because, in my opinion, I would love to see an animated version of the IDW Turtle universe. It's very
Oh
specific,
yeah,
and so
absolutely,
I'd love to see an animated of Last
absolutely.
Ronin. So, so it's a matter of you know, we'll see. But it's great that we were able to do something like Last Ronin and almost in a weird sort of way set aside all things, even because it's even the last one, it leans heavily towards it's kind of Dark Knightish, and that leans heavily towards the original Mirage Studios universe, and doesn't it runs kind of a little bit separately of the IDW universe or any of the other universes. So so we'll see how things evolve, but it's been fun that we've had the kind of support we've had from all the fans over the years
Yeah,
for
well,
these different versions. So.
absolutely. One of the things I love about the Turtles, I mean, like, obviously they've been in my life, my whole life as well. And one of the coolest things I could say is, like, when you had what people call the woke culture, all this stuff, people started to change their stories to adapt to other things. And like, you guys did introduce a female turtle, which you had Venus
Yep.
from the live action shows back in the day. But I mean, this fit the story. This wasn't like a cash grab or anything to change things up. And I think that she has definitely made herself at home in the group, if you will. And I think it added a huge dynamic to the group. And yeah, again, like, moving into Armageddon Game, I thought this story was incredible, and I love the idea of the
Blown away.
pantheons. I mean, I love the idea of of the people being, they're being gods of basically the group. I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, that's what. Well, thanks on all those accounts, and that was, it's funny. Very early on in the series, when Tom and I, even pre-issue 50, Tom and I both are huge fans of strong female characters. I mean, we love our Sarah Connors, our Lieutenant Ripley's, and
Buffy, don't forget
Infinity.
Buffy.
Oh my God, are you kidding me, Buffy? But and so we felt like we had such a great strong female character with April, and we wanted to make her more important and more involved in the series. But it was, the core elements of the family, which ends up being, we're very grateful that what Peter and I created, the four turtles, Splinter, April, Casey, still makes up that core, and that's been translated and interpreted into many different versions of the turtles over the years. So when the idea of Jenica came on board, it was this wonderful accident, because Tom said, "I'm going to find a way, and the right way, to bring in a female turtle," because he loved Venus, and so when he created the character Jenica, and that was Tom's creation for it came out issue 51,
Yep.
And it was a character that was kind of had a specific role, but she was going to be gone in like 3 issues.
Oh,
But we as a human character, she was a foot assassin.
yeah.
But 3 issues later, we fell in love with this character. So Tom came up with this idea of how to roll her over from the dark side to the good side of the force, which is meant Splinter took her under her wing and changed her. And as we get into issue 60 into 70, heading towards, he said, I think we've got something here that we could approach it like, a She-Hulk sort of thing, a blood transfusion kind of thing, that I think we've got a really great character that could become our 5th turtle. And it only took, 4 years later, we did. and
Yeah.
and we were just,
And no one saw it coming. I mean, you guys had. I mean, what a straight face too. Like you definitely are like a vault. Because I mean, I remember even last time you were on, I was mentioned to the things that I would love to see come back up, and I mentioned the neutrinos, and you kept, like, you were stone face, like, saying, like, I don't know if we'll ever.
He's a master of his craft,
back.
Blevins.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It was like,
well, it's funny because it's one of those things that Tom and I talk about a lot, because I talk too much, he talks too much, and we're always usually running, just in the production pipeline, it's about 4 issues ahead. So say
right.
if we're talking about Last Run in issue 1, we've already finished issue 4, and then but we also know what's going to happen, 5 or 6 issues afterwards. So that's our biggest nightmare, is really throwing out a spoiler. So it's almost like, we have to really put ourselves in that right frame of mind to be kind of guarded about that stuff. Because and then just dovetailing into Armageddon Game, that was really full on Tom Waltz brainchild. He had an idea of what he wanted to do with Armageddon Game before we get to issue 100, with the Pantheon and what he introduced and how those characters played a specific role. And so I was thrilled that he was able to really dig deep into what he wanted to say with that Pantheon story and have it weave into the ongoing, which Sophie Campbell's been piloting, and we all work together. But no, what a great adventure, and I could not be thrilled with the ongoing, and certainly what we're doing with things in the Ronin first.
Yeah. Now Tom's really been kind of the core writer with these Turtle series. Have you really kind of just given him the free reins, or is it a partnership?
Oh my goodness, no. Tom is well. Say I think my favorite saying recently is, I feel like it's 3 men and a baby, where we have myself, Peter Laird as co-creators, but Tom is the guy wrote 100 issues in a row, and he's been part of the Turtle universe for 10 years, 11 years, and more. What Tom does, and what I love about Tom as a writer, he's a very strong writer. He is very talented, and he's very seriously story first, and he's one of those guys that works like, I feel like I do. That's why we get along so well. Is when we talk out an idea, it's story first, and it's more like, it's not about, hey, if we kill this character, if we do this, or we do this kind of gimmicky stunt, maybe we can get more of an audience. That doesn't matter to him. It's all about how the pieces line up and how the story lines up, and telling a story in a way that's something we'd like to read. And so, no, and we all. So Tom is definitely in the driver's seat. I'm like I'm riding shotgun for many things. We switched places for last Ronin, but that was kind of different. But it's still, we're of the same mind. But we still work for the same company, which is Nickelodeon, who owns all rights to the Turtles. And the team over there is just hands down so supportive of everything we do. They have their comments, but it's one of those things that it's always in support of the story and the construction. But they really said that you guys are killing it. Just keep doing what you're doing, and But no, so Tom is a genius, and I always point to the fact that how many we're huge fans of our industry. How many other writers, there are writers like Roy Thomas and people like that have written hundreds of issues of comics, but there's not many writers that have written 100 issues in a row of one character, one title, one story. And yes, it takes a village to make a comic, but at the end of the day, those are Tom's scripts. Those are his stories, and he wrote every single issue. And I could not be prouder of the guy. And he's the shit. I love him. He's a great,
Incredibly immersive world. And I'll hand it back over to Blevin next, but definitely incredibly immersive. I just kudos to you guys, really. The
Thank
Turtles have really been my favorite comic book. It's the one that's consistent, that I go to my buddy's comic shop for and I pick up. And a lot of times I'm just leaving with the Turtle books.
Well, I can tell you that one of the things that we're getting ready, Courtney and I getting ready to start our 2023 tour, and that's one of the things that I love about the tours, is to thank you guys in person for not only giving me the greatest job ever, giving me the greatest life ever, because we can everything that we've done just as easily could have failed, but you guys, it's something clicked and it worked, and just hearing what you say, you go to a comic store and you leave with Turtle stuff. That's the biggest compliment I could ever receive ever. I'm drawing Turtles before I got on with you guys. I'm running late on the cover now, but I'm going back to drawing Turtles to catch up. But it's the greatest gift. So thank you.
All right, cool. Blevins, why don't you get us wrapped up?
Yeah. Well, just obviously this is awesome. I know you were very, very limited on time today, but we really do appreciate you coming on.
Oh, we got a little extra time today, so don't worry. So if you got a couple more questions, don't worry.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
You shouldn't have done that.
The last Ronin, the Lost Years. I mean, granted, there's only been one issue, but you already see how it is. I just want to say that if we don't get a Yi Odin 2-pack character toy, I will riot. I will riot.
Well,
obviously, with the cliffhanger left over from the last Ronin, like we knew something like this was coming down the line. And man, you guys handled it so well, and I love to split off with the backstory of the last Ronin, about how he gets, what leads up to him having his hallucinations. We don't really know if they're hallucinations, but you have, I think that it was a great regular story with an incredible flashback that had really nothing to do with the main story. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. And yeah, man, I like, what were your thoughts on that? Like, how did you like handling the 4 new turtles?
Well, it's a great question. That is something that throughout the journey through the first last one in the first volume, series 1. One of the things that Tom and I would talk about and comment on often was different spots and different places would like to go back and revisit given the opportunity. And one of the biggest ones, numero uno, was this journey that when in issue 4, Michelangelo goes to Japan, finds out what happened to Splinter and Donatello, and then is given Splinter's journal, and then as we said in the book, he just started walking. Well, that walking led to training, which led to a 16-year evolution of taking our character that's known as kind of the more lighthearted, easygoing, laid-back, comedic character into a place where he needs to be the badass that needs to be, that you meet at the page 1 of issue 1 of Last Ronin. So we really wanted to revisit that story, but we also had this idea that we wanted to spin off on. So that was kind of like an interesting prequel part of it, but then the
Yeah.
sequel part of it was we wanted to explore um, what we had purposely left off on, which is the next evolution of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is the 4 new turtles. And so we designed the whole Last One in Lost Years as a 5-issue series, and we've since added a single issue called Lost Day. But the 5-issue series, each issue takes place 3 years apart from the other one. And the opening sequence is what's going on as Casey Marie Jones is training on using Splinter's journal that Michelangelo left with her, training the new turtles, and you're getting to know them and their personalities. So at age 3 in issue 1, age 6 in issue 2, age 9 in issue 3. So by the time you get to
Oh,
issue
nice.
5, they're 15, as well as that lines up with Michelangelo's journey, which is we visit him each 3 years apart on his journey to become the character you need to be in Last Ronin. So at the end of issue 5, that'll lead you to the full resolution. Will answer a lot of questions about Michelangelo, everything from the white eyes to the just so many different things to the turtles being 15. So at the end of issue 5, that'll lead directly into Last Ronin Part 2, and that's so. We're teasing you with the new turtles. We're showing you them, but we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of all things with the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Last Ronin Part 2. So that's
Man,
Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
I-
incredible.
incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
When's that expected to hit shelves?
if everything works out, because we're
Yeah.
excited that our dear friends, the Escorza brothers, have, and I hope this might be breaking. I know the Escorza brothers are working
recorded.
on.
It's
They're doing
recorded.
no, it's okay. No, but they're working on a Death Dealer series, which is
Oh,
Oh,
not
nice.
afraid for Zeta. Nice.
yeah, they're these guys are my heroes. I love them. I found them originally through heavy metal. I worked with them on a story. Then we brought them in to do a Tarna 4-issue series, and they were just the perfect fit for Last Ronin. And so we'll be getting the band back together. So the Escorza brothers will be back in for Last Ronin Part 2. Ben Bishop will be back for the flashbacks, and I'll be doing stuff as well. But we're hoping if everything lines up with how the story will transition. So by the fall of this year, we're working on it now. So it's
Mhm.
the story's right, and we can start handing out pages to make sure we've got full control of what we want to, how we want to spin the story, because it's going to be Last Run in Lost Years is in the more traditional comic size format. When we go to Last Run in 2, it's going back to the 40 pages per issue, oversized, 200 page epic. So we want to make sure we have our I's dotted and T's crossed as we get into it. So, but this year, I think by the end of this year at the latest, as soon as we can. So, but
Man,
That'll
yeah,
be
we still
awesome.
got but just from this conversation onward, you still got 4 issues of Last Ronin Lost Years and 1 issue of it's going to be a 40-page special, which is Last Ronin Lost Day, which is going to be a great fun excursion of 4 12-year-old new turtles and an outing with Grandma April.
Grammy April.
Grammy April.
April.
Grammy April.
Well, I will tell you, not to talk about those, just to ask you a question. Like, it's been well documented over the years, like that you've had like 3 copies of the first printing of Ninja Turtles #1, and you've slowly leaked them out, like you've sold them, or I think maybe you did one for charity. I could be wrong with that, but I think you did something cool with those. Do you have a gold Turtlemania?
I do not. No, that's a great question because and even with to be honest, it's funny because I was, as a funny aside, I was talking to my uncle Quentin, who loaned us the original $1,200 to do the first issue, and he's released a couple of his first printings because we thanked him over and over and over, as well as repaid him and get stuff. But he called me one day and he said about 2 years ago, and he said, "Hey, I heard these first issues of the Turtles are worth some money, and I'm getting close to retirement age. Do you think I should sell them?" And I said, "Yeah. How many do you have?" And he goes, 11. And I was like,
Oh
"What?"
no!
Um,
Oh no!
so and so we kept a few, but it was always one of those in the early days. Hey, I did a first, this is my first comic book. Want one? And so we're pretty open handed. So I kept a small stack of them, and over the years I just kept a couple for our family. But no, the gold, the
Golden
Turtlemania
apple.
thing is it's one of those. It reminds me of 2 things. One, the reason that there were 10 of those gold Turtlemania books is because it was one of the worst conventions we ever attended ever. Nobody showed up, so they ended up with a bunch of these around. This is very early on, I think 86 maybe. And then it also reminded me of there's a misprint of Turtles issue 3, which Peter and I got from the printer in advance as we were heading to convention, and they messed up the cover, so it's really weird and blotchy, which ended up being rare. But it was a total mistake, and we were
And
mortified.
there's tons of double covers too of #3.
Couple double covers. There was been
Yeah.
some, I think in one of the printings, Tales of the Turtles #1 got mixed up with a reprint of Turtles #4. So there's issues with the Tales of the Turtles cover 1 with all the markers and the headings for Turtles issue 4 and the guts of Turtles issue 4 in it. But and then vice versa. So no, it's just funny how those little oddities, stay with you. But no, it's
The reason I brought that up is I'm a huge collector of lost media. Okay, so like whenever you hear about lost media, like there's so many TV shows that have gone away and no one has them. For the longest time, Super Bowl, the very first Super Bowl, no one had a copy of it. And they had to, they gave like $1 million reward for somebody who had it. The guy found it on his VHS back in the day because yeah,
awesome.
I mean it's a huge deal. Lost media is a huge deal. So of the 10 of the Turtlemania, 9 have been found and documented. And you guys did this incredible sketch on the back. Both you and Peter signed the back of them, and each one of the 10 have a picture on it. But number 6 is the one that's missing, and no one knows what the picture was that was on it. So that's like the big story is everybody wants to know what you drew on the back of number 6.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's kind of a, again, they've all been accounted for. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, we're gonna have Kevin on the show, and I was like, what if he has it? What if he has the number 6?
That would be cool, right?
Yeah. I thought that would be awesome. Like,
well, it's going to be. I don't want to. No spoilers, but it could be on an episode of Ancient Aliens soon. So you never know.
no.
Good. I never miss an episode.
Yeah, never miss.
Those on Unaki, they'd existed. I'm telling you.
Oh, kidding aside, I love that series. But the no, but it's funny because when you think about it, and even some of the early issues and some of the stuff that I've still got all my comics from when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and some of them could be probably were worth money until I read them to death. I mean, the Staples barely hold them together. I've read them so much and they're falling apart.
Right.
But I think as a kind of quote unquote disposable media, I think sometimes people would collect certain things, but then it might never, like, oh, that's never going to be worth anything, and it finds its way into a yard sale or Salvation Army or a donation or who knows what. Because I tell the story and I love it. As we were doing a new comic book day event many years ago up in New Hampshire, and a friend of mine, Ralph D. Bernardo, who owns a comic store called Jetpack.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
the first comic convention we premiered the Turtles on. And so we were doing this big new comic day event, and this guy comes up and he's got the first 10 issues of the Turtles, including issue 1, and in just spectacular condition. And so I looked at it and I go, holy smokes. And I opened it. Oh, I said, wow, first printing, great. And he's kind of looking at me with this glossy look on his face, like, yeah, okay, yeah. And I said, these are really great. And I go, and I could tell, I said, do you know what these are worth? And he goes, well, no, my grandmother saw a box of comics next to the dumpster where she works, and she knew I like comics, so she just grabbed the box and gave them to me. And I knew you were going to be here, so I brought them in. I said, "Dude, you got the first 10 issues of Turtles, including a first printing of issue 1, first printing of all of them." I said, "This is, at that time, I think it was probably worth $4,000 or $5,000. It's more now, but I said, this is amazing. You should go home and put these away right now." And he was blown away. It was one of those you know, Antiques Roadshow moments.
I was just going to say that Antiques Roadshow with Kevin Eastman.
So I think a lot of this over the years, this stuff has been looked at that. So if there's a missing issue 6 of Turtlemania, that could be, who knows?
Yeah, nobody's been able to find it, and everybody's just knowing who has it. Of course, that's a big thing because everybody gets them put on the census for CGC, but the
Yeah.
fact remains is that no one knows, number one, what it is, but the big mystery is who was drawn on the back of it.
Yeah.
Because you have 9. The very first one was Leonardo. Then you did a whole bunch of full poses of everybody.
Mhm.
So the numbers evenly match up. So there's nobody that's missing. Like there's not a missing deal from it. So we can't tell. Like it's was it Casey Jones was drawn on it? Was Splinter drawn on it? Was April drawn on it? Or was one of the other turtles drawn on it? It's just a big mystery. That's all. I thought it'd be cool if you did have it. That
Well, it's
maybe we could find out what number you had or whatever.
no, it is funny because I definitely don't. I don't believe Pete does. I think because a lot of it was done, for sale as part of that program. But it is interesting that Pete and I have been doing a couple, behind the scenes interviews, and sometimes even when we get together and we talk about like doing annotations on some of the when IDW did those great reprints of some of the early issues, and we'd write up these little notes about what we remember about certain panels and stories at the time. And it gets to the point, it's coming up on 40 years, and so when we get together, it's just sort of like, did you draw that or did I draw that? Did you remember? And so it's really fun to go back, because it was, when you're in the middle of it, it's just, it's all good fun between a couple of buddies, and so you never know what.
Have you been asked that question before?
Not that specific, but often there'll be people will say, well, on issue 4, who drew this or who drew that, and it's like, and even I go, well, I can still recognize certain things that Pete drew because he was, so amazing at drawing robots and technology, like that cover issue 4 that's got the big transmat machine and all that. That's all Pete. He makes that machinery stuff look like it works, and that's what I love so much about his stuff. And just a fantastic artist. But so it'd be more specific, like who drew that or who drew that, and it's like, well, we both pass stuff back and forth, but some stuff we recognize, some stuff we don't.
Just
Nice.
to segue, and this will be my last question.
Sure.
You were just recently on Cartoonist Kayfabe, you and Peter, and you guys basically kind of went page per page through the books.
Yep.
How was that experience for you, going through and just having the interviewers kind of going through your book and then kind of going page per page asking questions?
No, it's fantastic because it really was, as I touched on before, it was just sort of when we did for example, when we did the IDW collections, when we did the annotations for it, it was done completely. We weren't talking about it at the same time. It was, I would type up what I remembered on certain pages, certain scenes for a certain, that section of the chapter, which is a reprint of number 2. And then Pete would do the same. And then the editor at IDW would marry up the comments to work. But when you're doing it live, it was just because Peter and I's relationship is like the um, turtles would never be born if not for both of us being in the same place, in the same space, in the same mind frame, and working together. So when you look at something like that, it really is one of those, because I go like, well, this is what I remember. What do you remember? And it's kind of then that kind of sparks another memory, and you go, oh my goodness, right. So that was that led to that. That's that. So it's really a couple of old guys dusting out the cobwebs of it, enjoying the revisiting the journey together. So I hope we're gonna I hope we're gonna do a few more of those, because Pete's really enjoying them, and he's been you know for the most part retired,
Mhm.
solidly retired for a great many years. But I think sometimes you just we spent a lot of time and a lot of years working very hard on these characters and these things, and so sometimes you just need to take a break, a step back for a couple of years, and then it's not that you don't like them or anything like that. It's just a matter of like, okay, I just need to stop thinking about them for a little bit, and then you come back with a fondness that you always had.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah, it's fun. Will Spartaccio was talking to us. We had him on a couple weeks ago, and it was a long show. He was like 3 hours. He had a lot to
Great
say.
interview
A
too.
great interview. But
sweet.
he was just after the show we're talking. He's like, I love what you guys are doing. Your channel's like a catalog, because there's so many artists out there with so many things to say. You've been in the business so long, and you guys are cataloging these things. So I would just like to extend the invitation to you and Peter, if you ever both wanted to come on and do an interview thing, just to talk about it, especially if he's starting to get into that more. If I interpreted what you were saying correctly,
Yeah.
we'd be more than happy to have both of you guys on to just dive into some stuff. Probably things you already answer a million times, but we add it to the vault.
Yeah,
No,
it
and
would
that's
definitely.
I'm on the same page with you guys, and I feel like um, there's there's a lot of history, and it makes me think of the few times, because there's only been a couple movies done on comics from the period that I grew up on, which was like there was one called Comic Book Confidential, which was great. They had interviews with Frank Miller and Jack Kirby and Will Eisner and Mobius, and then there was one other one, name escapes me right now, but I feel like you know there was a real missed opportunity just because of the time and the period and the expense of recording that bit of history. Like say Spielberg and Tom Hanks did on with Band of Brothers and after Saving Private
Mhm.
Ryan, and they really the preservation of having these awesome, incredible veterans talk about the past. I feel a lot of it was missed. The heroes that inspired us. So, anytime we can record some of the people that are carrying on the torch, so to speak, and doing it is it's just great as part of history, especially if we uh, you know pay the appropriate respects to we didn't get here by accident. It's like I
Yeah.
started drawing because Jack Kirby was the one that inspired me to do so, and Frank Miller and so many others. So, but yeah, no, I'll definitely mention it to Pete, and it's yeah, but I think yeah, hey,
Little Jack Kirby.
I
You
love
have
it.
like a magic sack next to you or something, below, and you're just like, oh.
No, he mentioned Jack Kirby. I always
I
got to
know, I know.
mention the Thundar,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
barbarian stuff.
No, I love that, because that was a fun period. I loved the Jack Kirby. And he was doing stuff for Hanna-Barbera and some of the other animation studios for some of the Justice League cartoons and
Dude, I'm a
some, yeah,
massive cartoon guy. Been trying to find cartoons from my child. That's kind of what led me into the lost media. Like
yeah,
Turbo Teen. That it doesn't hold
Yeah.
up, but the American studio burned down, so the only issues that are around are the only episodes are in French,
yeah.
and there's still like 2 episodes missing. It's crazy.
No, that's it's funny, and related to that, I'm a big fan of that missing bits of history and stuff, and it's something that I've talked about with directly related to turtles. I've talked to Steve Barron, the director of the first turtle movie, and he has a cut which is a very rough cut, um, but it's on it's VHS quality, so it's but it included a lot of the stuff that was shot that was not put in the final movie.
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, it's really rough, and it's not color corrected, and it's edited back." He said this. He said he wouldn't want to take away from people's personal memories of what they loved about the first movie. And I said, I'm I'm a huge junkie for missing scenes and missing bits and missing, I want to see the storyboards and I want to see why they edited something out, why they cut something out, why something wasn't included for whatever reason. But I said I think fans would really love it. So, but I appreciate
Yeah.
that history. So,
Well, the process, right? Most fans are really fans like me. I think out of comics, I'm more fans of the process and then the finished product. So
Right.
if anything was put together showing the behind the scenes missing stuff, I mean, for the thousands of fans I know, we watch some of the most grainy things just to get that bit of history, you know?
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have tons
Yeah.
of grainy episodes of stuff.
Yeah.
I know you do too. Camp Candy, right? Camp
I
Candy
have
now.
Camp Candy, yeah, not too
Yeah,
bad.
can't
John
you can't
Candy's,
find Camp
animated
Candy
series.
anywhere, and it's all
No.
like VHS rips. It's crazy.
It's horrible quality, but it's just part of my cartoon collection, missing media. But, Blevins, anything, else for Kevin?
No, I just want to thank you again for giving us the time that you did, and the extra time too. It's
Yes,
an
thank you.
honor every time we get to come on. Man, just
Yeah.
I love like having these moments in my life, So I
And Billy
appreciate it.
Tucci says hi. Right now he's live. We just launched the Zombie Sama campaign, so that's live right now. So anyone's watching, go back to campaign. No, but
Love.
he does say hi.
Well, please give him my very, very best. Look forward to seeing him out there. I love Billy Tucci's. Love his, of many things he does. His Sergeant Rock story was just good. But
Unbelievable.
no, so please give Billy my best, and always a pleasure to talk to you guys. And yeah, let's let's do it again in in the new year. We're gonna, like you said, last year's #1 just came out, so by the time we get to midsummer into early fall, we're gonna have the whole rest of the series as we're heading into Last Ronin 2. So let's chat again.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Enjoy
All
your
right.
weekend.
You as well. Enjoy your weekend, and
All right.
always a pleasure talking to you guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yep.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on POPXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the POPXP and over on Instagram at the POPXP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.